This is Nia Perry, founder and CEO of Gradient Global Collective, and you're listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Hey entrepreneurs, we've got an amazing guest for you today. NAVALAYO Sembo-OMBATI is CEO and founder of Enda Sportswear. Enda was founded with a mission of bringing a bit of Kenyan athletic excellence to runners everywhere. Nava hails from a village near Eldoret, Kenya, that has produced generations of the world's greatest distance runners. A graduate of the London School of Economics, Nava has worked internationally, including the US, the UK, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Kenya. She is trained as both an accountant and a lawyer, hashtag OMG, with experience in risk management, results-based management, and writing. And guess what, ladies? I have the distinguished honor of having her with us today. And surely we will gain much knowledge from this globe-trotting boss. So welcome to the Gradient Global Collective podcast, Nava.
Thanks so much for having me, Nia.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I just want to jump right in. So tell us about where the idea for Enda Sportswear came from and what makes your athletic trainers a little bit different. But before you answer that, first, for all of those who are like me that may not be athletically inclined, let's say that, are trainers simply just like running sneakers?
No.
Okay.
You have various types of runs. You have long runs, short runs. You have what they call fat legs. Basically, there's a whole range of running that runners do. So trainers are just part of it.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Are you a runner yourself?
Yes, I am.
You are? Are you what type of runner are you? Do you do long distance or
Oh, I definitely can't do 42 kilometers marathon. Right now, I'm 5Ks.
5K?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so tell us about Enda. How did it start? Tell us about where the idea came from.
Okay, so Enda is a Swahili word that means go. Like
Mm.
when you say on your marks, get set, go.
Yeah.
So we kind of thought that it was the best name to befit an athletic company that's coming from the home of running champions, that's Kenya. And how it started out was I was in a business accelerator in Nairobi, in
Okay.
Kenya. And I was pitching for an idea of a sports academy that takes kids from school and focuses on giving them a high class training while not jeopardizing their education, because most parents they feel like they have to choose whether their kids go into full-time sports or their education suffers.
Wow.
So my idea was to put a sports academy that kind of provides both education and world-class training to kids so that they can train to become athletes from an early age. And from there, I met Weldon, my co-founder. He was part of the audience, and we kind of started talking afterwards. And when we were talking, we were like, how come Kenyans have never made running shoes? You know, like we are so great and we have all this sports prowess, but we haven't really done anything. And that was like a question that got us to think like, how come it hasn't been done? So we just had a conversation, and we were like, let's make running shoes. You think it's possible? I was like, we have zero experience in making running shoes, but I
Hmm.
think it's possible. So I thought he was joking. He thought I was joking. I was like, let's make the shoes. And he's like, yes, let's make the shoes.
Right.
And he was like, I'm not kidding. I was like, I'm not kidding either. And
Nice.
we said, let's meet for like a week later to kind of think about it and see how far we would come. So we met a week later. And from there on, it became twice a week, and then it became more frequent. And that's pretty much how we kind of grew gradually to a point where we started off the company.
Wow. So what about the academy? Did that idea just sort of go to the side once you became sort of serious about the shoes?
I let it go to somebody else to manage
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah, but
So
it's there.
is it still operating?
It started in January this year, 2017.
Nice.
Yeah, but I can't manage it. So a couple of other people are running it. But we kind of got 5 and 6 year olds, and we hope to challenge the tennis world and athletics as well. So we're coming in 10 years or so.
Wow, that's amazing. What's the name of the academy?
It's called Angani School. Angani is Swahili again for being up in the air. You know, like how tennis athletes, like when you're like just about to hit the ball and your feet are a little bit off the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and you're just about to hit a serve. So that's what inspired the name of the school.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's great. So
Yeah.
you and your co-founder, Weldon Kennedy, raised 120,000 from a Kickstarter crowdsourcing campaign and
Yes.
sold 1,000 pair of shoes globally. That is tremendously impressive, Nava, and it's a very difficult thing to do. Crowdsourcing is so popular, but so tell us what you learned most from that experience, and what do you think what advice could you offer others about running a successful crowdsourcing campaign?
In terms of what I learned that you kind of need to use your networks.
Mm,
Like, and when I say use, I say keep and maintain your networks.
okay.
And it's based on the fact that we had a target that we had to meet, and we needed people to support us.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of said, this is our target, this is how much we need, this is how many people we need to support us. And it was basically going down to the address book from as far back as kindergarten. And
Okay.
you knew, basically, you just kind of send them a message, told them what we were doing, asked them to help us. So the one thing I learned from that is that time doesn't really wear away bonds of friendship. You know, I find that sometimes people say, well, if you haven't been in my life, well, I have no business being in your life.
Mm,
And one thing that crowdfunding taught me is that people don't really, it's not that people don't talk to each other because they don't care about each other. Sometimes life happens,
sure.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're less of your friends as you thought they were.
Of
So
course.
a lot of our friends and family came through us tremendously, and some people I hadn't spoken to in years, and they were like really supporting us.
Wow.
So I kind of just learned that your networks are everything, and whether they're active or docile, it doesn't matter. The fact that you know people, that's your biggest asset, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
you say you reached out to people from kindergarten, how did you find? Did you go through your like social media? Was it via like LinkedIn or just
So
some emails that you had?
we did emails, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Instagram. We literally went everywhere. And the good thing about people is that somebody would be like, well, I haven't spoken to this person in such a long time, but this is their phone number or this is their email address. So we also had a lot of snowball effect where one person leads you to like three other people, and basically going down to people you grew up with. And basically, it was also a good way to bring people together, in my opinion. I find that most of my friends kind of discovered each other afterwards
Mm.
because it was like, this person is doing something. Do you want to support them? So, yeah, I think it helped a bit.
Oh
You know,
wow. Okay,
yeah.
so you think it brought not only did it people come together to support you, but you found that they also came together to support each other and like in their
Yeah,
own
because
initiatives?
we hadn't spoken to each other in a long time, and I
Mm.
think it kind of provided a basis for people to be in touch, people we haven't seen in years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it was a really great opportunity for me to kind of just realize that I have friends no matter how much time has passed.
Yeah.
They really do care.
Wow.
And
So that's a great tip. You mentioned using your networks. Anything else you could offer people just in general to how to go about a successful crowdsourcing campaign?
yeah, I would definitely say have a target and
Okay.
do everything you can to get that target. And basically, what we said is we needed to raise X amount,
Okay.
and for that we needed X number of people.
Mm.
So how many people do we need to target to get the number of people that we need to support us? And of course, you factor in for, I mean, you might reach out to 100 people, only 20 people come back.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have to kind of, you can't just say I need 80 people and you have a list of 80 people. You kind of have to go 3, 4, 5 times and just factor in that some people want to get in touch.
Sure.
Yeah, so I said have a target, do everything you can, speak about it, get people to know what you're doing, talk about it on social media. Some people may get exhausted, but it's okay. The message is out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, yeah, like we used a little bit of Facebook ads. Facebook was very
Oh, interesting.
very instrumental in getting the word out there, and surprisingly LinkedIn as well. I used to think LinkedIn was for very serious looking older professionals, but it also, when we were kind of looking at our data, LinkedIn was also very instrumental in getting the word out there. So I would say have the target, do everything you can, set the amount, factor in for people who might not support you, basically just growing the list much bigger, let people know about it, advertise, and literally just talk about it as much as you can.
Did your what you raised, the 120,000 and the 1,000 pair of shoes sold, did that exceed what you guys had planned for, or did it meet the target?
Yeah, and our original target was 75,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went, I think we raised like 35,000 in 2 days. That was a little bit surreal. I was like,
35K in 2 days?
yeah, I know. That
Wow.
was, yeah, it was a crazy feeling, I must admit. It was a bit mind-boggling. But we managed to raise that, and afterwards we kind of had to move to Indiegogo because of there's some people who are kind of like we missed out on the Kickstarter. Where can we find you again? So in total, we raised through crowdfunding 140,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, and it also proved that that you had a viable product and that people really wanted to get something different because your new product in the marketplace, and for you to exceed your goal, almost double, right? Almost double from what it sounded
Yes.
like. That is tremendous. So, congratulations. That's
Thank.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So I noted in your bio that you've worked in the US, in the UK, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and of course Kenya.
Mhm.
What would you think that how has your global business experience affected the way you operated in the startup world?
I think it's definitely made me more confident,
Mm,
bolder in the things I would have done. Like, I think before I was very more reserved. I can't say that I'm noisy now, but I was very reserved. And also growing up in Kenya, you have this very defined gender roles of
mm,
what women do and what women can't do. And I must say, like, I was very you kind of some instances you kind of put yourself down a little bit,
mm-hmm.
and then going on to the world was a big shock because you realize there's a whole different culture, like people want you to be very direct as opposed to beating about the bush, hoping that somebody would get the point.
Mm-hmm,
So I think for me that was my biggest learning. Like you kind of just in different cultures around the world, you have to just be up straight and say this is what I want because of ABCD, as opposed to kind of trying to be overly polite and
mm-hmm.
just trying to. I mean, sometimes you're so polite that people don't get what you're saying, and it took me quite a while to figure that out.
Right.
So I have to say that living in different parts of the world has shown me that you basically have no reason to be afraid. Just say what's on your mind, and yeah, it's okay. Like it's not a bad thing to say what you think. It's fine. So I think that was a good learning point,
Yeah.
and also just appreciating diversity.
Sure.
I was joking with my friends that sometimes when you see in job descriptions and they say ability to work with different cultures, and
Uh-huh.
people go like, yeah, of course I can do that. I mean, people don't really think about just how insane it could be
Sure.
working with different cultures because you don't know what's offensive to somebody.
Of
Like what
course.
might be normal to you might be taken so personally by somebody else.
Sure.
So being in different places has taught me to appreciate diversity, and basically you just have to respect people's norms and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, as I gave my example of being quiet, like people who are quiet are not necessarily stupid, and people who talk the most are not necessarily the most intelligent in the room. But
Hello, I know about that.
yeah, but when you work in different cultures, you get to appreciate these nuances, and they really help you when you're creating your own business, when you're meeting with people from around the world. It allows you to kind of know, with this person, this is how they come from, and this is how they communicate. So I think it's made me better in terms of communication and really appreciating diversity.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Very cool. Awesome. All right, awesome. So Nava, like me, you're a
Mhm.
working mother, and I understand all that comes with that. But tell me from your perspective, how many children do you have, and how do you manage running and growing a business and being a mom, which is in itself is a full-time job?
So I have two kids. One is 6, and
Okay.
the other just turned 9.5 months.
Oh my
So
goodness, you have a baby. Oh
yeah, an
wow.
adorable one.
What's that?
An adorable one.
Oh my goodness. Is it a
Yeah.
girl? How? Oh, the girl and boy or?
Yeah, the older one, the 6-year-old is a girl, the 9-month-old is a boy.
Oh wow. Congratulations.
Very much. So I have two kids, and
Mhm.
it's of course it's very insane because Enda started off and is still like a pastime thing.
Mhm.
So you have sometimes it's a little bit insane because if you kind of stay at home with the kids, hats off to all stay-at-home moms.
Oh
It's very,
man.
you
Yeah.
can go insane.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say that I would give all credit to my husband and my family. Like they have been very, very, very supportive. I don't
Nice.
know what I would do without them. So, in terms of taking care of the kids, for instance, my family has been a really big step up. My in-laws have really, like my mother-in-law came in, stayed with us, helped take care of the baby when he was really small. When I was at some point, I had to go to Kenya, and he was like 2 months. My little
Wow.
baby was 2 months, and like family showed up big time in terms of just taking care of him, making sure that somebody's picking me up at lunchtime, going home. Like basically, people were literally available to ferry me around to and from the baby.
Mm.
So yeah, and my husband has been extremely supportive. When we started off the business, sometimes you kind of have long meetings, late meetings. Sometimes you kind of have to be away weekends, and they've been truly, truly supportive. So I would say family has been a really, really strong foundation in making all this possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay, and so I saw on the Enda Sportswear Instagram account that your business participated in a social project in Kenya entitled the Amazing Maasai Marathon. The girls wore t-shirts that read, I am an amazing girl, which, just brightened my day, I have to tell you. So, why was it important for your brand to get involved with such a social initiative? Is that something you do on a regular basis, or tell us about that?
So, like social impact is at the core of our business model.
Okay.
And one of the things that why like having a social impact is important to me is because personally I'm a beneficiary of other people's generosity.
Okay.
And in terms of my education, my brother paid for my school fees when I
Wow.
yeah when I was going for my postgraduate. There was guy who totally paid for my scholarship to the LSE. So I pretty much understand that I am where I am because other people gave up something.
Wow.
And part of the one thing that we kind of agreed for Enda, it has to be a social business. Come what may, that's the first thing that we have to give back to the community. And so one of the first things we did was register as a benefit corporation. That
Mm.
makes sure that in our DNA we have social impact at the core and we are legally mandated to report on our social impact. Like what have we done to achieve what we set out to achieve? And I think that's most important to me. That even if I'm not whatever happens in life, if I'm not there to kind of see my vision through, that whoever comes in knows that we are a socially minded business.
Yeah.
The Amazing Maasai Marathon was really good. I mean, of course, I support women for
Mhm.
various reasons.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily say I don't support guys, but
Mhm.
for me, it's really core, like supporting women in Kenya because they face a set of different challenges. And for us, the run was just us basically saying these are the kind of things we want to support, these are the kind of people we want to partner with, and we want to make an impact as to show other people that by people I mean brands and other companies
Mhm.
too can get involved and make a difference
Sure.
as it can be.
And I think people want to support companies that are doing good. That it's a two-way street that you're not just taking and taking, from a financial perspective, but you're also pouring into the community that needs it and also that has, supported you and raised you in a sense. So that makes total sense to me. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
So did you share your big dream of Enda with family and friends? Because, sometimes entrepreneurship is really tough. And when you have an idea that is a little bit maybe large for some people who, may not be entrepreneurs or understand the sacrifice that it takes. It can be a little discouraging when people say, well, in other words, the question is, who do you think you are? Kind of question that sometimes entrepreneurs can get from people. So, did you share your big dream and tell us why or why not?
I definitely shared my dream with my family and a
Okay.
few close friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like my number one support group.
Okay.
So, and I trust their feedback 100% because I know that they want the best for me and I listen to their advice. This is not the first time I've kind of gone to them with different ideas. So, family is important because A, they give you raw feedback. Like, I like people who just tell you as it is, not just,
Mm,
oh, it's a nice idea, but they kind of say, okay, this is what you want to do, but what are the challenges? How
right.
are you going to cross through those challenges? What's the financial implication? Like, you kind of see it from all perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And also, two friends of mine who've been really close over the years. And it's the same thing from them. I always know I get feedback as is, like they don't sugarcoat stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely told them. And yeah, because basically I know that they want the best for me. They give me the best advice, and I had to share it with them.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Did you ever run across any naysayers, or did you keep it to the core people that you knew would offer that support?
Oh, the core people also have naysayers, you
Oh,
know.
of course, of
I
course.
mean, they do have, the one thing that I trust about them is that any negative thing is based on a positive foundation. Like they would
Yeah.
say, I don't support it because what are you gonna do? Because it's too capital intensive. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have enough savings? What happens to the savings of your family? Are you gonna come back to us and say, "Oops, I spent all the money," and
Right.
those kinds of questions. So, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand that. That's a blessing. It really is that you had that core group of people that supported you and understand you. And you've mentioned to me prior to that you had other sort of entrepreneurial ventures. Tell what were some of the other things that you've done in your career?
I tried a little bit of farming. That was a disaster.
Oh, farming? What kind of farming?
No, I come from a farming community. Like my
Okay.
village is very into farming. I kind of tried farming, but I think I should have listened to my parents more in
Okay.
terms of what I decided to grow.
What kind of crops?
So,
What was being farmed?
we were farming maize. We call it maize here. They call it corn.
Corn, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I decided to kind of go in and do like a big scale maize farming,
Okay.
and I kind of put in a lot of money into a lot of acreage, and yeah, there's happened to be a slump in the market that particular year.
Oh, geez. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know. So that didn't go quite well. Then I also tried a business once. I wanted to create a consultancy for corporate social responsibility,
Oh, okay.
where yeah, companies would kind of basically trying to create a model that takes decisions from the boardroom to the grassroots, like asking people, what do you want, as opposed to having corporates decide, okay, maybe we should plant trees this year, like
Mm.
bridging the resources and the needs. And I was actually looking at the work for that yesterday based on a totally different reason. And I realized that it didn't come to fruition because there were so many challenges I faced in trying to establish a consultancy in Kenya back then. But most of those reasons and most of the research has helped form a core foundation for what I'm forming now for Enda in terms of our social impact and how we want to achieve our social impact.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I may be calling you down the line, Nava, so for some tips and some consulting in that area because that's also very important to me. So don't be surprised if I give you another ring, okay?
No worries.
Great. Okay, so let me ask you this: how difficult was it for you to find team members that understood your mission and had the skills to produce the product? Because it's a physical product, right? And it has to be created with care, and there has to be quality assurance, and all the things that go into having a solid product, because ultimately it's your brand at stake, right? So how did you find the team members and um, that had the skills, or did you have to train a set of people? How did that work?
So again, going back to networks and references, one of the things I've learned is that always trust your networks
Mm,
because people will not let someone they know down, like if I have a reference as opposed to someone who just walks off the street, there's likelihood of them, they have a higher social tie, like they don't want to let the other person down.
Sure.
So I have to say I have been thinking about it from the other side as well. I was like, well, what does that say for the person who's kind of walking on the street, is fantastic but has no networks? But that's been a side thought that I've kind of been thinking, because I don't want to exclude people based on the fact that they may not be in the right networks.
Sure.
Then the challenge again is we're a small business, we don't have the capacity to kind of go out and do massive recruitment.
Sure.
So we really had to rely on what our friends recommend. And I would say, yeah, it hasn't been easy, and when you talk about supportive team, I think supportive is equal to being respectful, but at the same time having independent thought. And kind of getting that combination for me is very important. Like we can agree to disagree. I wouldn't really want people who go like yes, yes, yes all the time, because I'm making a shoe, but I haven't ever made a shoe. So I need people who, even if I'm saying these are the timelines, but they know that this is the implication on quality, they can stand up and say, you know what, this is not the way we are going.
Right.
So I would say definitely getting the right people has been through friends. And also we did a couple of random searches on LinkedIn. Like people have been helping us who we don't even really know, but at least if you're in the designers on LinkedIn, and they wouldn't necessarily help us because they're tied to the employers, but they would say, I know this fantastic freelancer who does this. And that's pretty much how we've been getting people, like references and just plain old searches.
Sure. So where are the products made? I know one of the goals for one of your goals that I saw was that you'd like to have all of the production done in Kenya, but what's the process like right now, pardon me.
Right now, we're getting components from China and then assembling the shoe in Kenya.
Okay.
Of course, like China is super efficient, and we would have made the shoes in a day if we were doing it in China. But part of the challenge and part of the reason why we exist is because we're saying you can do it in Africa, and we can create this product without the same quality, same, like you can put it next to other international brands and it's still coming from Africa.
Right.
So for us, that's something that's also very dear to us in terms of how we do it. And also we're hoping to make it 100% in Kenya as we go along, hoping that we create jobs along the supply chain. The people who give us the shoelaces, they'll make the uppers in terms of stitching. So the ultimate goal is to basically create a way that Kenya can benefit from as much as possible from its reputation in distance running. Other than just getting prize money for a few athletes, what can we do on a global and national scale that so many other people can benefit from it?
Wow. That's nice. That's awesome. So do you have like full-time staff creating the shoes in Kenya or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's very complicated as I came to learn.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
Isn't
only
it
thing
always more complicated than we
I
think?
know.
Everything is.
I have to say the one thing that I've learned from this process is to respect people's professions, because it's very easy to say, oh, well, I can design that and it's just a designer. But then when you kind of understand the designer's work, you have respect for that work.
Sure.
When you look at a product developer, the people who actually make the shoe, you're thinking, well, it's just putting glue together and gluing the shoes. It's like, no, there's so much about the chemical composition, about the right tools, so I have to say that's been like very one of the things that has stood out. And sorry, I think I veered off and I forgot your question.
No, that's okay. Just as far as creating the shoes in Kenya and the assembly of it, is that do you have full-time staff? Do you have people just freelancing? How does that work?
So we have a team in China, we have a team in the US, and we have a team in Kenya. So the team in the US is basically the ones doing the design, and they also have experience in product development. They are helping us. They're going to be the team that's going in Kenya to work with the locals to kind of impart the skills, because we don't have this industry in existence in Kenya.
Wow.
Then we have a factory in Kenya. Initially, we wanted to build our own factory, and we just discovered there's just so much that goes into building a factory. Like there's a whole ton of stuff that you have to be mindful of. So for this initial run, we are partnering with a local company that's doing sales in mostly in Kenya and East Africa, but we are working with them also to kind of help them scale up their global. They don't have any exports globally, like they just do East and Central Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So we are also hoping that by working with us, we kind of open them to new markets. And the goal ultimately, of course, is to create our own facility. But right now, it's also just realizing your own shortcomings and the strengths of others and working together to achieve this dream of having the shoe made in Kenya.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've learned so much, you've done so much, in your career, especially with this one brand, Enda in particular. So what words of encouragement could you offer someone that may still work a full-time job and, maybe have less than 2 years of entrepreneurship, or they have no experience with entrepreneurship, but that's what they desire for their life? What kind of advice would you offer someone?
I would say experience is gained through trying. Nobody wakes up and they're experienced. They kind of try. So I would say you have to try. And especially for the days where it feels totally worthless, I would say those were the days that when I look back, I'm so glad we pushed through because there were some dark days
Yes.
when everything wasn't working together. And I would wake up and I'd be like, I'm in the middle of the night, I'm waking up thinking about
Yes.
shoes. Why am I doing
Yes, yes, I fully understand
Yeah.
that. I had one of those dark days yesterday, so I get it.
Yeah, so you kind of need to rise up above it and remember that Rome wasn't built in a day,
Oh, that's
and
good.
kind of just deconstruct that saying and saying, what does it mean that Rome wasn't built in a day? It means when you look at Rome in totality, there's the pebble, there's the cement, there's the foundation, like there's the gravel, like each and every piece of rock or dirt that went into it is part of the big picture. So whether or not you're feeling like your efforts are very small, or that it's very insignificant, I would say just push through because the victories come because of a series of those small steps. So you kind of just have to pull through, and even though it doesn't make sense some days, just do it because you know you're supposed to do it, and the good days will come.
That was so awesome, Nava. So good. You just helped me so much. Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that.
Oh my goodness, so true. That's really good. I think what really stood out most for me with what you said, obviously that Rome wasn't built in a day, but that there's dust, there's dirt. It's not a clean process. It's part of it. You're gonna get dirt. You're gonna get scratched. You're gonna, those are the things that you have to remember, and it's not glamorous. I think that's
Exactly.
a misconception that people who are wanting to become entrepreneurs or who are new entrepreneurs, whether they have a part-time business, while they work full-time, it's not glamorous. It's a lot of hard work. It's,
Mhm.
you're more dirty than you're not, if you will, dirty, if you will,
Yes.
and it's tough. But I think that's great advice, and I love that, and I appreciate that. So that's awesome. So one more question. What would you say is your maybe 5-year goal for Enda? What would you like to see in the next 5 years? Or is it about retail reach? Are you looking to compete with, some of the major athletics brands?
I mean, I'd say definitely in terms of competition, we want to be known as well as the other competitors are known for.
Mm.
So I would say I want it to be I want Enda to be at the top of everybody's mind when they think about running. They think that that's the natural choice of a brand. I'd really love it if a brand is known in every household globally. That would be really fantastic.
Yeah.
And in terms of 5 years, I'm really hoping we can get our shoes in the Olympics.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Are you working on that already?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, so we are really working on just kind of getting to a point where we work with the Olympics team, whether it's the national, the regular one, or the Paralympics team.
Sure.
We definitely just want to make sure that we're in Japan next Olympics. And in terms of what I want to see from a community perspective, I feel like Enda has a really great role in forging a spirit of togetherness and community in basically in running. I wouldn't want to say running communities, just say communities around the world. We want to get to a place where we show people, like, from every shoe you buy, this is the much we donated to a social cause in Kenya. This is the impact that your money made. And I want it to be so personalized that people can actually see Enda as an experience, like it's a brand, but it's also an experience of how people are helping each other, and also turn it the other way around, and say from the people who are benefiting from our Enda community giving, what are the stories of the people who are buying the shoes so that the other people
Mm.
can benefit?
Oh, I
Sometimes
love
people
that.
think that somebody is very rich and has all this money and that's why they're buying these shoes so that people have this mentality of who a donor is in terms of how much money they have, but we just want to show that people who are buying Enda shoes are ordinary,
Mm-hmm.
everyday people, and they too have stories. And we want to highlight stories on both sides and basically create a connection or a bridge that people can get to know what's happening in Kenya, and Kenyans can get to know what's happening in the world. But all of it is tied together through running.
Yes, I
Yes.
love that. So that sounds like a similar mission for our brand, Ingredient Global Collective, and bringing a sense of community to
Mhm.
people who may not have normally um, connected or have had any tie-in, but there's a sense of commonality in being a Black woman entrepreneur. So I love that, and I understand that very, very well. So
Yeah.
I think that I made the mistake of saying that was your last question, but let me tell you something, Nava. It is now time
Uh-huh.
for our rapid fire round of questioning.
Oh wow.
Okay, so we want to get beyond the business of it all. You're very accomplished, you've got so much great experience, but we want to know the random facts about you, okay? So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, I want you to give me the first things that come to your mind, and you have
Uh-huh.
30 seconds on my imaginary clock, okay?
Okay. I'll do my best.
What's that?
I will do my best.
I'm sure you'll do great. I'm sure you'll do. Listen, if you can start a footwear brand with no experience, I'm sure you can handle my little questions here. Okay, so number one, lipstick or lip gloss?
Lip gloss.
Okay. Do you have a favorite one?
Not really. I'm actually not that much into makeup. I'm hoping to change. I just never have the time to wake up in the morning and do my
I
makeup.
get that as well. I totally get that. Okay. So
Yeah.
staycation or resort?
Staycation, definitely.
Really?
I love my couch. I love it.
You love your couch. I love
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Is it a are you watching TV, or are you just sitting? Are you reading? What are you doing?
I think it's because it's positioned in such a way that it's at the end of the room, so I get to watch TV, watch my kids. It has a nice little table next to it. It's my ultimate. I love it.
Nice.
I get to do and see everything from my little corner.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, name one person, dead or alive, that you like to meet and why.
I'd definitely say Wangari Maathai, the Kenyan lady, the Nobel laureate. I
What's
never
her name?
Wangari Maathai. I
Okay.
can't send you a spelling of it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but she won the Nobel Prize for she was basically forest conserver. She was conserving forests in Kenya because
Oh,
there are different people who are literally felling down the trees, and she gave her life defending forests.
wow.
Yeah, I like her because she's very down to earth. Like, at least from the book, I read her book, Unbowed. I watched her on TV a couple of times,
Hmm.
and I found that she was just who she is. Like
Right.
she was very motherly. I like that about her.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, now this is the real question, okay? Here we go. So, as a native New Yorker, you can't let me down on this one, okay?
I hope. I'm in the office half the time.
Okay, so say this phrase
uh,
3 times fast. It's a tough one. And listen, I'll even let you write it down.
okay.
Okay? You know New York.
Uh-huh.
You need New York.
Uh-huh.
You know you need unique New York.
You need you need New York.
Did you
Okay,
get the
I'm writing
last
it
did you get
down.
the last part of it? Okay, so I'll read it one more time for you. You
Mhm,
know New York.
mhm,
You need New York.
mhm.
You know you need unique New York.
Okay. So you want me to repeat it 3 times?
Do it, go.
Okay. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need a unique New York. Yeah, yeah. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York.
That was awesome. You did so good.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe he made me do that.
That's awesome. That was so good. Well, thank you for playing along.
Thank you for for it, I guess.
That's good. Listen, that'll keep your brain, kind of, moving along through the day. So, listen,
Yeah.
try that on
That's
someone
not
else.
a
That'll be
problem. It's
fun.
not gonna be stuck in my head the whole day.
Perfect. Good. That's what I wanted. I wanted to make that impact.
In
I think
fact,
we're all about set here. How can people connect with Enda Sportswear? What are your social media handles? How can we stay in touch?
so you can check our website, endasportswear.com. That's ENDA
Mm-hmm.
sportswear.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then our Twitter and Instagram handles are at Enda Sportswear. And Facebook, we are at Enda Running.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then FB is Enda running. Well, I'll be sure to put all of those details in the notes for the show. So thanks for sending that. And Nava, I just want to extend really my deepest gratitude to you for spending a bit of time, a very, very valuable time with me and the Gradient Global Collective podcast listeners. You truly do exemplify the innate brilliance and moxie of Black women entrepreneurs globally, and I am very honored to have gotten to know you just a little bit.
Thank you for having me. I have to say that I'm hoping to help somebody who's undergoing the same struggles I went through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got a new mentor the other day and she's phenomenal. And I'm just like realizing had she not come in my life, I'd probably be somebody somewhere else.
Wow.
So I think it's very important that women help each other. And I'm so happy to have been helpful.
Well, you have been very helpful, and I think that your stories and your advice has been tremendous today. So, again, thank you so very much. We appreciate it, okay?
Okay, cool. Thank you too.
Thank you for listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Follow us and talk to us on Instagram at Gradient Global.